I'm sure it is a universal experience to wander away from a parent at, let's say, like a grocery store or the mall, and you get a brief moment of utter panic, thinking you're lost into the wilderness and will never be able to return to life as you once knew it. And then your mother comes from the aisle next over and you realize you might have just overreacted. Needless to say, stranger danger and going missing was quite the fear I had growing up. Luckily, I never got too lost as a young lad, but still, the idea of parent-child separation in that scenario stresses me out. So how would you handle if every 40 seconds, someone in your town went missing? Every 40 seconds? Well, ladies and gentlefolk, that appears to be the question of the day given this highly recommended analog series, Tryred Witness Archives. I had a previous series slotted to take this Sunday's spot, but after seeing a ton of you recommend this series, I knew it would be worth checking out. Brief warning, the series gets quite graphic and deals with some heavy subject matter, so proceed at your own risk. As always, be sure to check out the original series and support the creator before making your way over to this video where we talk all about it. But before I let you get too far, just wanted to say if you enjoy what you're watching and want to see more, be sure to hit all those neat buttons down below, including the subscribe and bell notification to be a part of every new upload. This weekend is Phoenix Fan Fusion, and I cannot be more excited. Be sure to follow us on Instagram for more updates, as the event is just around the corner. I can't wait to see what the event has in store for us, and if any of you are there, I hope you all have a great time as well. But anyways, now you can pass through. Missing Child, Entry 1. Our series begins, and we are introduced to the Tryred County Missing Preventable Action Program, partnered with a Smile Fee production company to present us with a helpful guide on what we should do if we lose our child. This would feel more helpful if the frame wasn't this horrific image. Our narrator tells us that she's going to guide us through a scenario so that we can be well prepared if this were to ever happen to us. Right before we cut away from this blank missing poster, it briefly flashes an image of this blonde girl. Our scenario has begun, and it reads that a father and a mother lose their daughter at the Tryred Park. Oh no. The mother starts to freak out, but the father is said to have kept his composure. I do apologize in advance for this one.
The mother is hysterical, but the father keeps his composure. The mother is remembers the 4 easy steps to find his daughter.
Trust me when I say all my organs stopped working there for a second. But let's carry on, shall we? How was the father able to keep his composure? By remembering the 4 easy steps to find her. It's just that simple. Step 1, remain calm. Step 2, stay exactly where you last saw her. Step 3 is a little bizarre to say the least.
Step 3, describe to the park ranger what the...
It looks like in the midst of all that glitching, we see a quick frame of some park rangers before we see this nightmare. Also, with the help of the internet, we can tell that this little splat right here is actually Braille for Jade. If we thought step 3 was bad, well, step 4 just beat it. Except the fact that you will never see her again. We quickly cut out and are presented with a child communicating to us, seemingly the missing child. If we're talking about Jade the name and not the gem, perhaps Jade is the person we saw flash onto that missing poster, which would make her the person in the text we see in this next scene. They never found me. They told me to go to the forest. They had a gift for me. I wanted to be loved, and hate is what they gave me. They loved me first. Do you remember me? Home is here. We then flash to this image of a girl wearing a gas mask with the same symbol placed on the top and the bottom. If this is Jade, she sure is creepy. We then cut to this found footage segment where someone is running around looking for an Alex. Maybe Alex is our missing girl. Our cameraman trips, and for a split second we can see a handful of masked figures peering over him. We see text that says, "I am forgotten after all," before we get an even clearer frame of the terrifying figures. Our narrator comes back to send off the tape, and our entry ends. Just the right amount of intrigue for a first entry. It's doing a really good job at playing off a very real fear and a real scenario so many people have gone through. Missing Program, Entry 2. This entry starts us out on the Channel 4 station. Up next is Bath Time with Mr. and Mrs. Scrubby. Now this is what I'm talking about. Mr. and Mrs. Scrubby introduce themselves, and it sounds like in this episode, Mr. Scrubby is in a bit of a bad mood. Turns out he doesn't have any friends.
Nerd!
A dirty old sock, they call him. Mrs. Scrubby tells him he should then wash himself, but it sounds like Mr. Scrubby doesn't know how. Geez, Mrs. Scrubby, you have been married to a dirty old sock. Luckily, she is very generous and offers to teach him. Remember when I said graphic content warning? Mrs. Scrubby lists off the... Fuck, I lost my groove. Mrs. Scrubby lists off the steps for bathing and loving yourself, and step 4 is certainly an option, I suppose.
And number 4, the most important part of all these steps. If you truly want to love yourself, kids, always cut.
When asked where she learned all these steps, she says that she learned it from her 4 best friends. However, the caption says it comes in 4s, and you will be too. I think the text was right because with what we are shown next, I most certainly am now cursed.
Wasn't that fun?
No, that was not fun. We even get a little jingle at the end to make sure this is drilled into our brains. Our lyrics actually change up to feed, forgotten, repeat. Definitely a big clue to our bigger mystery. Clearly there is something in the Tryred County that is eating people, and given the cryptic messaging shown throughout this little episode, I wouldn't be surprised if this was in some way, shape, or form luring people to their demise. Before the episode ends, it freezes and starts to go off the fritz. It kinda looks like the station starts to have a bit of a shutdown before it comes back up, and we are met with a list of missing people. We see Alex Garcia, who in the first entry we saw the guy looking for her. Our captions give us a little message that says she was curious. She was so sad, but we made each other whole. Adriana is our next missing person, and our little caption fun fact tells us that she loved hard candy. She was so sad, but we made each other whole. Interesting. Next is Jake Garcia. Let me guess. He was so sad, but you made each other whole. Oh, never mind, it looks like he got too curious. It somehow got even more ominous. It takes quite a bit of time before we are shown our next missing victim, Jade Green. So I was right the first time. Jade is definitely the girl on that initial missing poster. But was she the girl talking to us? We don't get any captions for Jade, nor narrator reading her last known whereabouts. But we do slowly see something start to peek down from the top. Oh, this can't be anything good, can it? After that nightmare is all over, we hold on to this photo for a bit longer before our entry comes to a close. I wonder if the people we saw surrounding the guy looking for Alex were all these missing kids. If they aren't being eaten, then it looks like they are being tortured and turned into some other things, if I had to guess. Missing Project. Entry 3. We find ourselves in the archives within the Tryred County Missing Person Action Program. Damn, that's a long-ass name. Whoever is operating the system searches Hernandez, and we get quite a bit of results. We open up someone's file, and I don't foresee ever being able to make this out. But we listen in on an interview with Ethan Hernandez that took place March 29th, 2022. Not an interrogative interview, but a job interview. Ethan's got himself a criminal justice degree, and he wants to get to the bottom of the frequent missing people. Our interviewer makes sure to let Ethan know that this job is incredibly stressful. Ethan does make mention that his dad is now a retired police officer, and this case was the last one he was working on. There's a bit of him that wants to give him closure. We learn that the job he is interviewing for turns out to be the lead searcher. He wasn't kidding when he said stressful. Our interviewer decides to ask Ethan what his greatest weakness is. His response is that he gets a bit flustered when things hit too close to home. Our interviewer finally brings up the fact we have all been waiting for. People disappear every 40 seconds. As someone who is supposed to be lead searcher in a situation where you're going to have a new case every 40 seconds, how would you possibly even handle that? Would humanity be able to even survive that? Do I have the capability to even figure that out? From what I can find, the global birth rate floats around 18.1 to 18.5 births per 1,000 people. This equates to around 4.4 births per second. Looks like humanity would in fact be fine. But what if everyone stopped giving birth? How long until everyone vanishes? The current human population floats at around 8 billion, so if one person disappeared every 40 seconds, it would still take a whopping 10,000 years for everyone to be gone. Well, when you put it like that. Alright, enough sidetracking. What I find interesting is that the interviewer asks if Ethan thinks he will be the one, emphasis on the one, to slow down or even stop these disappearances. Ethan describes that he wants to slow it down before it starts to get to 30 seconds, 20 seconds, you get the gist. Or if it reaches one of his loved ones. That concludes the interview between the two, and then our computer operator, logged in as Amy_guest, goes on to the next file. It's unclear if this job training slideshow is the file our character clicked on, or if this is being viewed elsewhere. We are brought to the job description page where it looks like we are going to be empowering family members of missing persons to enter and search case information. It appears that this is for working with the Tryred Action Program. Is this the same job Ethan was signing up for? When we get to the slide that prompts the question, what will the police do, we get a caption at the bottom that just says, nothing, which is kind of funny. But according to this page, the police will ensure that they are safe, that they haven't been a victim of crime, and that they will not come to further harm. If any evidence is found, discard it immediately and do not report. That doesn't sound right. For only a couple frames, we see a second bullet point that just reads, do not keep for evidence. There is certainly something fishy going on in this program. We are then introduced to a very interesting acronym, the FCKQD rule. Find, collect, keep, quiet, discard. Yeah, this all sounds fine and dandy. We get shown a slide of things to discard, which mostly includes just personal belongings. We're trying to find these people, right? Given with what we see next, I don't think we're the ones helping.
Finally, discard all
Discard all masks? Huh. It certainly is starting to sound like we're why these kids are going missing. After that little moment, we are forced to restart our training due to this error. We restart the program and we are given a bit of history. The Tryred Witness Foundation was founded on January 11th, 2000, and the founders aren't named. But we learn that it was created in response to the 1999 incident where for 4 months straight, teens and young adults would go missing every 40 seconds. But according to the date of the interview with Ethan Hernandez, the 40-second disappearances are currently going on. Ain't that interesting? It also looks like we aren't signing up to be a part of the Missing Person Action Program, but the Witness Foundation. There are a lot of programs all with the goal of quote-unquote finding missing people. Interestingly enough, we are then introduced to Project Alex. This was created by Mayor Garcia after his own granddaughter went missing. Before we go any further, we are met with this program resetting moment.
Click to continue.
It's hard to make out what the distorted voice in the back is saying, but it's back to having to reset the program again. You know, I'd be sick and tired of it by this point. This time we get a little tour of the Missing Action Program facility. We get to see the front desk, the main office, and this eerie hallway. Once again, before we can get very far, the whole program starts to freak out.
This hallway leads to our executive room. That's only accessible to Tryred Witness founders and creators, and is not accessible by crew members. You may not enter this room.
What could possibly be in the room we're not allowed to enter? The narrator does get cut off right before he can finish his sentence, but I think it's as clear as day that he is referring to Jade Green.
In this room we keep the body of Jade.
I really don't know if I love that name or hate it. It's getting more and more obvious that these foundations and programs are more than likely the cause of these disappearances. They want them to happen. The main question in my mind currently is the time jump. There are supposedly reports of 40-second disappearances in the years 1999 and again in 2022. Whoever's operating the program tries to move ahead, but is continually met with blank screens, until we get to this image of a lonely door. The arrow ahead is still not doing anything until the whole screen goes to black. And yet again, we are met with a training course reset screen. A fist would be thrown through the screen, both out of the amount of times I would have had to reset, and the face that slowly fades in. We reset once more, except this time we go right back to that door, and this time it's open. We sit at this door for an uncomfortably long time before we get closer up to the frame. Slowly, this face only with the eyes and hair visible starts to fade in. I can't feel anything. Alex, are you there? Are you there? This gets repeated until the face fades away. I wish it stayed away because this next bit is horrifying. This is a bit off topic, but one time I had a sleep paralysis experience where I heard a noise like those running footsteps race from my bedroom door to my side of the bed. True terror, let me tell you. The text above the head saying, "Wait, you're not Alex," has me pretty intrigued. Whoever was operating the system must have shit bricks. I wonder why this entity was expecting Alex to be on the program. That is, if the program and the archive we see are being operated by the same individual. Forewarning, the scene we are presented with next is in line with that graphic content warning. What in God's name could have possibly been happening in this facility? And who was that lady in the door frame? Oh good, it looks like we have finally completed this orientation, and seeing that it is in fact for the lead searcher, I believe it's safe to assume this was Ethan operating the system. Whether or not it was also Ethan listening to his own interview is up in the air. It appears that up next we get to see the signs of someone who is about to vanish. We then get presented with a video of Jade doing some on-camera interview. It says there is an audio error, but it looks like the video and audio take place at two different moments.
Sitting in front of the camera, talking about my feelings for the...
Are the feelings she is describing the signs that she is about to be taken? We see a folder labeled Jake Garcia, but before looking anywhere inside, we cut to a slideshow presentation made by Alexis Garcia for her high school, all about the history of Tryred, Texas. Considering Tryred County doesn't actually exist, at least I am 99% sure it doesn't actually exist, it's cool to see the amount of world building that went into this little area. One slide that should catch our attention is the story of Lost Boy Found. This young kid goes into the forest to pray for cleaner air, since at the time the air was polluted with gun smoke due to the Mexican-American War, making his mother fall ill. The boy reports hearing the tree move, so much so the tree looks at him, then starts to walk towards his home. The boy wonders to himself, trees don't walk that way. How else do trees walk, I must ask? We get a bit more interesting facts until we are met with fact number 4. Every 40 seconds, people go missing. The next entry on this list is a whopping hour and 10 minutes long, so we're going to save this one for a part 2. Overall, this first season of Tryred Witness Archives so far has been quite the journey to find myself on. This series is really managing to stand out as one of the more dark and disturbing analog horrors out there. The scares are top-notch, with some of these moments being executed perfectly. I'm very curious to see where the series could go, as it seems like we are finally getting into the root of the 40-second disappearances. Given how long the next entry is and the fact that it is a season finale, I have no doubts that it will be full of answers and some even more questions. My biggest question still at the moment is the fact that these disappearances seem to start back up again in 2022, whereas it seemed the incident only lasted 4 months in 1999. Something about these missing person programs just doesn't sit right with me. They have to be the ones behind these cases, but how would that explain the interview with Ethan Hernandez, who appeared to have a strong goal in solving this issue? Hopefully all of these questions will be answered in the final entry, Missing Game, and if I had to give you guys a guess on when part 2 would come out, it probably won't be out next Sunday, so expect it to be the first video of June. Other than that, if you made it this far, I thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit all those neat buttons down below, as it really helps to support the channel. Keep leaving me recommendations down below, as I love checking out what you guys have to offer, and I probably would not have found this series if it wasn't for all of y'all. But if you'll excuse me, I think my 40 seconds are up.